Bill Tilford here with Pablo Menéndez, leader of Mezcla, which performed at Jazz Plaza this year. Pablo, sorry we aren't doing this over a bucanero or something, but tell us about the concert and your impressions of the festival so far.
Well, it's just a mind-blowing achievement to have such a jazz festival like this, the size, the scope, the quality, in the middle of the intensification of the U.S. war on Cuba that, like the UN gets together every year for the last 33 years that explain as a genocide that the United States is doing against Cuba has been intensified by Donald Trump. So like Biden hadn't done anything in all this time, and like it's the 2 years of pandemic and no money coming into the country. It's just like, it's unbelievable that something like this could happen. Because you look at the festival, and I mean, I've played in jazz festivals in Europe, in very rich countries, in Canada, in the United States, in Central America and Latin America, Caribbean, around the world. And I tell you, most of the time, they don't have nowhere near the amount of concerts, just the sheer amount of concerts, the diversity of, where people came from. And I would like to, underline the fact that around, I think, 100 artists came from the United States, even in spite of everything the United States government does to try to not have people come to Cuba, because they don't want to see all these dangerous things like concerts, jazz festival concerts with tickets that cost around the equivalent of 50 cents of a dollar. I mean, where people just can get in to see, jazz all over town. This festival in it's just like incredible. And not only all over town, but it actually happens in two cities at once because it's happening on one end of the island and the other. Santiago de Cuba has about 9 venues, and I think Havana has about 12 venues. It's going on for 8 days. And, some festivals, jazz festivals around the world, like 3 or 4 days, and they do, 3 or 4 different venues. This is just a monstrous thing. People from many different countries also, which also is not the case, especially in the Caribbean, where they are always after that tourist, Yankee dollar. So they, bring in people that will appeal to the 50s and over crowd that from the United States that will come to, tourist resorts that in the off season is when they usually will have jazz festivals. That's not the dynamic that's happening here. The jazz festival in Cuba, on the first place, let me say that, since I'm one of the founding fathers, I was at the first meetings that we had about, making a jazz festival in Cuba. This festival was created by the musicians in a local cultural house, and it just grew and grew and grew over the years, and has become one of the major cultural events of the year in Cuba. And so it's like I say, I have been at every one of the festivals, and it's now in its 39th edition, not its 39th year, because they did have to skip some years. But even during the pandemic, they, being a country that is not really high tech, they went into, high gear to doing a virtual version of the festival. And, we did it all with videos and things. This year, I decided, well, since if you perform a whole lot, you want to try to find some diversity in your performance, something different. And I was thinking about what to do, and one of the wonderful things about this festival is that they have homages to musicians from the past, or different bands, or different styles, or different people, and in fact, different genres, not only jazz people. Sometimes there's singer-songwriters, or rumberos, or different musicians from different areas of Cuban music. And this year, I decided, well, I want to do an homage to a bass player, because I remember very clearly the times in the late 60s, early 70s, up I think until the early 80s when there was a shortage of great jazz bass players in Cuba. And one of them that was really important, I mean, now there's tons of them. You know, there's tons of these new kids that are just amazing virtuosos. But jazz bass player back then was a rarity. And Cachaito, Orlando Lopez, was also just one of the nicest and sweetest guys you can ever imagine. And he played really well, and he played in every sort of job, you know, that a musician can have. He played in the symphony orchestra, he played in bands playing in a hotel bar, he played in bands touring around the world, he played in you know, different jazz groups, he played, and then, you know, in his later years, he was the bass player of the Buena Vista Social Club project. So he passed away some years ago, and I decided, well, let me, you know, I was listening to that crazy album that the Buena Vista Social Club industry did, Cachaito, and so I said, wow, you know, let me see. It's also kind of an homage to the guitar player there, Manuel Galvan, the conga player Anga, and the fourth star on that album, Amadito Valdez, is still alive and kicking. So I invited him because I've known him for 50 years. So I had him come and play on the gig, and he played really incredible solos, you know, with the timbales there. And the other person that I thought would be the most appropriate is someone who, since his first album many years ago, doing a jazz bass as a solo instrument album at Graham Studios in I think I'm not sure when that album is, but I think it's from the very early 80s or something. He was like a really groundbreaking jazz musician, and he's played with everybody from Irakere to Arturo Sandoval. He's played around the world. He's played every type of music, and lately, I remind people, well, in the last 4 or 5 years, he's played at least twice for 100,000 people at a time. Once in Buenos Aires in a concert there, they had to change the soccer schedule, which is in a country like Argentina is really, you know, like shows you how important that was. A free concert, outdoor concert in Buenos Aires. And also a similar crowd, 100,000 people in the Zócalo, the main square in Mexico City. And that is because he is the bass player also for the singer-songwriter Silvio Rodriguez, who's like the most famous singer-songwriter in the Spanish-speaking world, Cuban singer-songwriter Silvio Rodriguez. So that man is Jorge Reyes. And Jorge Reyes is like a wonderful bass player. He played, you know, I remember that he played on one song, at least on the album that my mom, Barbara Dane, made in Cuba in like 1980 or 81. And I've known him for a long time, and he's, you know, like just one of the guy. I asked him, hey, can you come and play on this homage to Cachaito concert? He said, yeah, sure. Because that's the other thing. In this festival, nobody's thinking about, you know, are we going to get paid or anything. It's all about, are we going to be able to play some good music? And, you know, let's do it now, and, you know, as much as possible and as many places as possible. And you know, the fact of having practically free tickets and outdoor concerts and things like that is something really attractive to musicians and artists from around the world who come to our festival, Jazz Plaza. So the concert went extremely well. My concert, I mean, all of the concerts, all of the different concerts are wonderful. I was making a short list of the ones that I would love to see. And it was around 50 different concerts. So I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to see all of that. So meanwhile, my concert also featured some of the young jazz greats right now. Janio Abreu, saxophone player, who's just a killer player. And Julio Valdez, who's a regular in my band, Mezcla, a violin player, piano player, singer, composer. And so then, as the cherry on top of all of this, you know, I came to Cuba in 1966 from Oakland, California, where I was born. And my plan was that I was going to be here for a year to study music. But I asked my mom after the year, could I stay a little bit longer? And then I guess I like it so much that I've been here now almost 58 years. So it's really something that touched my heart to have a 16-year-old jazz star from Oakland, California, came to Cuba for the first time to play at the festival, and that's Ayo Brain. So that was just wonderful. He played really well too. And you know, since I always like to have some women on stage playing instruments. We had a women trumpet player, Rachel Macias, also. So you know, it was just one of these concerts where everybody in the audience was saying about, wow, you know, there was so much heart, there was so much stuff. I said, yeah, well, that's what it's all about.
One of the interesting things about Jazz Plaza is that after the main concerts are done for the evening, there are usually some jam sessions going on in hotels and clubs and different venues. Did you have an opportunity to pop in on any of those?
Yeah, and I tell you, one of the things that's happening now in Havana with the new, you know, all the different economic reforms that there's been the last few years, there's a ton of different, you know, private bars and restaurants that have jazz afternoons, jazz evenings, late night stuff, early evening stuff. It's, you know, like sometimes very small venues, sometimes medium-sized venues, privately owned, you know, restaurants and things all over town. And it's something that I always dreamed that we needed, because there's such an amazing amount of amazing musicians here. And you know, people always think, you know, it's simple-minded thinking that people think, oh, is it in the water? Is it the genetic makeup of Cubans? Are they just some special thing? No, it's because of socialism, man. You know, like it's because we have free education. So it means that anybody that has the talent and you know, the dedication to make it through all of the years of free school, you know, they can do it from the elementary level, the intermediate level, even university level right here in Cuba for free. And then they're guaranteed work. You know, like, I know musicians that are listening to this say, I wonder, and can I move to Cuba right now? I mean, you know, it's we need a whole lot of places for people to listen to music, because there's, on the other hand, the bad news is the whole epidemic, the worldwide pandemic of people listening to music made by people that are musical illiterate people that learn how to do a loop, 4 bars on a computer, and then add ingredients and, you know, have it repeat a million times, cutting and pasting. And that is what dominates popular music around the world right now. So a jazz festival with really cheap tickets, wow, and lots of venues and all over open air places. The other day I left my sound check at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was going down one of the main drags in Cuba, passed by 2 or 3 of these open air jazz concerts. I was saying, wow, look at this, you know. It's just, that's what this world needs right now. You look over, you know, around the world, and there's like wars with drug cartels. There's like wars of all sorts happening all over. You know, the military-industrial complex is really just taking over the world, and climate change and everything. So what do we need in this world? Music, man. We need music, and that's what we need. It's like festivals like Jazz Plaza, and that's what we got.
What lies ahead for Mezcla?
Huh?
What lies ahead for Mezcla?
Well, you know, everything that I am able to do, I think, you know, we're working on new recordings. I know you're interested in that part. It's, of course, one of the ways that still, thanks to people like you that do the job of trying to get it to people, you know, because now that the record industry, you know, like the habit of actually buying something and taking home and listening to it is practically a thing of the past. But recording, I find, is still one way that we can reach audiences. Here in Cuba also, it's like an amazing difference is that we have free access just based on if you have a good product, you can get on national TV and give them a DVD of a concert, give them a concert video, give them some good footage, and they'll play it, for the 11 million people of the population, have it on a free TV channel, public TV. So it's like, that is definitely recording and doing more stuff like that is in the plans. And we have 4 or 5 different projects that we're working on because Mezcla is all about that, having different things, things going on. And also there's some festivals, some national festivals coming up that we're really interested in doing because the pandemic didn't allow us to go on. In the year 2020, we were booked for like 3 or 4 of them, and then, they were all canceled. And now this year we're going to be trying to hook up with all of those and be able to play in different cities around the island. We also are working on, I think one of the things that was really interesting for me last year was that I had the almost impossible situation that my mom, Barbara Dane, singer Barbara Dane, the feature film about her life, 9 Lives of Barbara Dane, was finally finished and was going to have a world premiere in California at the Mill Valley Film Festival. And they wanted to have a musical event, a concert. And for the first time, I played with her ever since I was, able to walk practically. I mean, she had me on a TV show she had in San Francisco when I was 8 years old playing harmonica. So I've been playing with her that long. And this was the first time that she was not able physically to get up on stage and sing. She was at the concert she attended, but who had to, take up the torch and try to do some of the repertoire of the songs that she's, done such incredible versions of is Moi. So that was something that was a huge event. I had to spend months practicing every day those songs and try to get them right. And then I went to California and did that concert, and we had so much fun. There were some great artists on the concert also that have had, some relation with her career, her life, and have been part of that. And you can read all about it also in This Bell Still Rings, her memoirs, which is a great, inspiring book that's also available on Amazon or wherever we get books. And we had Willie Chambers from the Chambers Brothers, and my son and me, and Willie played some blues with one of the great jazz pianists of the United States right now, Tammy Hall, and a great bass player in San Francisco called Gary Brown, Daria Johnson on drums. It was just an amazing gig, and Holly Near was there to sing, also sang with us, and my brother was there to sing, my son Osamu, a Cuban rock star, and that made me think that I have to find some way of using part of that repertoire in the mixture of what Mezcla does, because I've done, always a couple of songs in English or something, but not a whole lot. And, the audience speaks Spanish, so that's, about communication. So I want to, sing in the language that people are going to understand. But then again, when we do a lot of Cuban songs and we're over in Europe or someplace in the United States or in Canada performing, it's the opposite. We're singing in Spanish and then, they don't understand the lyrics. Okay, well, so, working all of that into the repertoire is also part of my agenda for this year, to find out how to continue to do all this mixture of Afro-Cuban roots music, of rumba, of jazz, Cuban rock, new song, and anything that helps bring some sort of a vision of the fact that human beings can be better than they are and be, live together in peace and happiness and, forget all this warfare that's going on and all this strife and all this, all I think also that part of the fact that the music has been subverted and changed into these 4-bar long loops that repeat all of the time with the same dynamics and things is part of like kind of a brainwashing thing because if you listen to something, especially like there's certain types of music that have the same drum pattern all day long, and that I think is a way of turning off your capacity to actually see what really is happening in the world, and have some way of finding yourself out of difficult situations. So I think people need music more than ever. So that's what I got to try to do, is to make as much music as possible.
Pablo, thanks for taking a few minutes with us and for the video and photos that you shared. And hopefully the next time we do something like this, we'll have a couple bucaneros in front of us.
Right. Well, I know that you have, over the years, been one of the people from the United States that has visited Cuba, has discovered all of the fact that all of the different things that there are here that make this so attractive for people. And I really appreciate what you're doing now over the airways, because also people potentially have the possibility to hear you all over. And, you are doing the same work, taking music to people, and people need music. And that is something that is, you're a missionary goodwill and good feelings and good music. So keep it up, Bill.